All right, so let's go here. All right, guys. So now, guys, the reason we factor to solve, and I got it at the top of the paper, is to find the x-intercepts. So, guys, anytime you're factoring, completing a square, anytime you're solving for your x variable, all right, anytime you're solving for x, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to find the x-intercepts, all right? So, so let's go back. We'll start out with something simple. Now, guys, one thing about these that's not like the others we did, these are not in standard form. You have to make them in standard form. So let's talk about standard form again. Remember, standard form, that's standard form, okay? So you have your quad term up at the top, at the front. So quad, linear, and constant term. So quad, linear, constant, and it had to be in that order. It's got to be in descending orders, in descending order, based on the powers. Okay. All right. So what we have first . All right, so what we have first is n squared equals negative 30 minus 11n. Guys, when it's like this, you can't do anything with it. You can't take the square root of both sides. You can't do that. So what you need to do first is get it in standard form, okay? So if you get it in standard form, guys, you should not have a laptop or a phone out. Dang, you put that laptop up. Jackson, you put that laptop up. All right, so what we're going to do first, we need to get, you want to keep your quad term positive. You don't want this to be negative, okay? So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take the, and let's go ahead and put them in standard form. I'm going to go ahead and bring my n squared down because it's already where it needs to be. I'm going to add 11n. Now, guys, what that does, that makes that become 0. It makes the right side 0. All right, but now I have to add it to the left side. All right, so that cancels out. And then to make negative 30 become 0, I add it, but I must add it to both sides. So guys, what we're doing, we're trying to get in standard form. We're trying to make the right side 0, okay? So that's the reason we did these first two steps. All right, so now it is in standard form because I got the quad term up front, the linear term in the middle, and my constant. Now, guys, the rest of this, except the very last step, is the same thing, okay? So check for a GCF. Well, the A is 1, so there's really not a GCF except 1. So go ahead and start your 2 parentheses. Guys, if anybody remembers, because it's been a few days, what goes up at the front of your parentheses? The variable, right? It's always the variable. All right. Does anybody remember the sign combination here? Plus, plus. Good. Because it's got to multiply to give you that. Add to give you that. So it's going to have to be the same sign since that's positive, and both pluses. This is a positive. Okay. So thinking about the factors of 30. Now, guys, all 4 of these factor pairs will give me 30, but what's the only one that will add to give me my middle term? 5 and 6, right? Now, Now, since your signs are the same, it doesn't matter where you put them. Okay, since your signs are the same. All right, now guys, what these are is your factors. Now, by this time, you should know what those are called. Just make sure, because terminology is big. All right, so those are the factors of your polynomial. Now, to solve, this is what you do. You take each factor and you set it equal to 0. So you take each factor and you set it equal to 0. And it's very simple, guys. You're just going to solve for your variable like you usually do. You're trying to get the variable by itself. So for here, to get n by itself, I'm going to subtract the 5 because that makes that 0. But I'm going to do it to both sides. So I subtracted the 5 to make that go away because I have to have n by itself. And 0 minus 5 is negative 5. All right. And then to get n by itself here, I'm on minus 6 to make that 0, which I have to do it to both sides. And that gives me n equals negative 6. Now, guys, what these are, they're called several different things, but they mean the same thing. So, guys, these are called your... Make sure you know this, okay? Because this is what gets people. Because mainly on the in the course test, they don't ask you what the solutions are. They may ask you any. They're talking about the same thing, but they may ask you in several different ways. Guys, these are called the zeros of your function. Okay. They may be called solutions. A lot of times, guys, they want to call them roots. Okay, they'll call them roots of your, because it's these are your x-intercepts. That's what those are. X-intercepts. Guys, those are about the only thing that I've seen that they call them. Yeah. And guys, remember what this is where the parabola. So if I had this parabola, I mean, it may not be drawn exactly like it's going to be, but if I had this parabola, and I've got an XY axis, so I don't have my X over here. Now, guys, what that means is if you graph this parabola, what that means is where the parabola crosses the x-axis, which are at these 2 points right here, that is negative 6 and negative 5. So that tells you where it crosses the x-axis. Guys, there are so many different ways to find x-intercepts, but are zeros, solutions, roots, but they're all the same thing. Now let's look at one where that's a binomial. X squared equals 8x. Now guys, when you go from a trinomial to a binomial, the way you factor it is much different. Okay? They're actually easier to factor, but people have the most trouble with them because you don't see them that often. All right, now guys, the first thing you got to do you got to get it equal to 0. So make sure you're going to get it equal to 0. And guys, that's always the case. If it's not equal to 0, you need to get it equal to 0 and put it in standard form. All right, so now, I'm going to get this side equal to 0. Okay, and if of course, that cancels out because that's what we wanted it to do. All right, that gives me now, guys. If I don't have a C value, it doesn't mean it's not in standard form. It just means that the C value is missing, or the C value is 0. Okay. By the way, this is not your C value, but the C value is missing over here. That means it's just 0. Okay, so if you're solving them, you're getting the x-intercepts. Okay, so now, guys, we can't factor this like we did up here because we were missing a term. So if you got a binomial, what you want to do is see if you can factor a GCF out of it. Well, if you look, you've got an x in both your terms. Well, so I've got an x in both my terms, so that makes it, I do have a GCF. All right. Now, so if I'm going to take an x out. All right, now, if I divide x squared by x, that gives me x. And if I divide 8x by x, that gives me 8. So I just factored an x out of it because I had an x in both terms. Okay. Now, guys, anything with an x in it needs to be set equal to 0. So I've got an x here, and I've got an x here. So that means I'm going to have two solutions. Now, guys, if it has an x in it, it has to be set equal to 0. So this x over here by itself, I'm going to put it equal to 0. All right, now, guys, this binomial here has an x in it, so I'm going to set it equal to 0. Okay, so x minus 8 equals 0. Now, guys, with this being x equals 0, do I got to do anything here? No, it's solved for, right? X is by itself. That means that you have an x-intercept at 0, okay? And then on this one, it's just simple. You're just going to add 8 to both sides. So those are your two solutions. Okay, so guys, what this would look like, on a graph is your parabola would look well, guys, where the origin is, that's 0, right? X is equal to 0 at the origin. That is that solution. Okay, so x equals 0, it just goes straight through the origin. And then this solution, guys, is just this positive 8. That's your answer. Okay, so that's what your graph would look like. And remember, when you solve and factor and solve these, you're just finding where the parabola crosses the x-axis. All right, guys, I'm gonna do one more, and it's gonna be the one where a is not equal to 1. So if we look at 15. What do I have to do first before I start this problem? Got to get it in standard form, right? What would be my first step to get it in standard form? You would you try to get that to 0 first, okay? So, and guys, these will never combine. They will always be, because that's a b squared, a b, and a constant. So those, you're just going to write them in descending order based on the exponent. Okay. Now, does anybody remember? First of all, we're going to look for GCF. Well, 17's prime, 3's prime, and they're not factors of each other. So we do not have a GCF. Does anybody remember what we do when A is not 1? What's the first step?
Multiply A and C, don't you?
Yep. Good. So you're going to multiply A and C. So, and what that gives me is b squared plus 17b. 3, is that 84? I believe it is. 3 times 20, 60. Yeah. Okay. Now, guys, remember the reason we did that? Because this particular quadratic's easier to factor than this. Okay. You can factor it like that, but it's so hard. All right. It takes a while too, unless you get luckier and find the right factors. All right. So, guys, we know that B goes up front. What is my sign combination down here? It would be minus plus. Or plus, minus, either one. Because this is a negative, right? So we know these are opposite because it's got to multiply to give you this. And then the biggest number is going to have a plus sign. So we know our biggest number is going to go here. Well, I don't mark that up real bad. But my biggest number is going to go with the plus sign because that's a plus. Okay. All right. So 84. I don't know why I did that. All right, I believe that's enough. All right. So, guys, all these will multiply to give me 84. Okay. But which factors will give me 17? Add 4 and 21, right? So now you got to be careful. What number needs to go here? 21, because it's got to be the biggest number, right? So 21, and the other one is 4. Now, guys, if you stop here, you've got the factors of this polynomial, but you need the factors of this polynomial. What do we do to get the factors of this polynomial?
You divide it by 3.
Divide by 3. Yep, good. So divide by 3. Now, guys, if you're solving them, you can kind of stop right here. But I want to make sure you guys keep in mind how to get the factors from here. Now we're going to divide this. Now that will divide out to be 7. So that's b plus 7. All right. And then this one, that is in its lowest terms. 4/3 is in its lowest terms. You can't leave this here.
So you put in front of you.
Right. So it's going to be 3b minus 4. All right, so those are the factors. All right, and then to get the solutions, all you do is set them equal to 0. So b plus 7 equals 0. 3b minus 4 equals 0. Well, if I subtract 7, that gives me this solution. That gives me that solution. All right, and then this one I'm going to add 4. So b equals 4/3. All right, guys, on this paper, does anybody see one they want me to do? And I mean, I can do it for you real quick. If not, I'm gonna let you guys work on it. So you got one when A is not 1. Okay, you got a binomial, and then you've got when A is greater than 1. So you've got one of each. All right. Anybody having questions? So guys, really, if you think about it, it's the same thing you did before the break. You're just adding one more step by solving it, and that's very simple math. Oh.
When I did the first one, is that how you're supposed to write it? Like, and then there's the, or are you supposed to write it, like, how are you supposed to do it together like this, or like that?
It don't matter. That's fine. Yeah, just either one.
Oh, am I allowed to, like, separate these two, or do
Yeah, that's fine. Ain't gonna hurt. You won't finish your task card.
But I forgot. Over break, I forgot what to do.
I think. Oh, you got the exponents too. I can go over a couple things with you if you need me to. If you want to take it, that's up to whatever you think.
Yeah, I gotta catch up because I'm really thinking on my meeting, so I don't know, like, when my last day is. It might be today.
Oh, you're moving? Oh, really? Oh, shoot. Okay, on on this one now, you're trying to find the perimeter, right? So now perimeter of anything is just adding all the sides together, okay? Now remember, if they had the same base, which these all have the same base, the x's, and the same exponents. So what you're gonna do is add all those together by adding the numbers, so 2 plus 2 plus 3. And then that may eliminate some of your questions, I don't know, well, it looks like all of them's 11x. And then add all your numbers together, which is 6, -3, 3, 4, and -2.
Yeah.
Just add those together and see what you get. Now that's a perimeter problem, just don't let that throw you off, you don't need that. Okay, so,
Why do you just multiply?
yeah, which area? Okay, so what you would do here, if this little piece right here wasn't missing, it would be just this times this. But what you're gonna have to do is multiply this times this, okay? And then at the end, we gotta subtract, 'cause see, this is missing, right? So we gotta subtract that away. So what you would end up doing, now remember, when we multiply, you add the exponents, right? So this little piece right here is that measurement right there. So what you want to do is multiply those two, right? And then subtract that away. And make sure you put it in parentheses. So it'd be,
Now I use a calculator.
yeah, you can always just calculate, yes, ma'am. All right, so what you do here, we'll just, multiply. So remember, you start here, multiply here, right, and write that, and don't forget, you multiply like basically you add the exponents. And then once you get done there, you come down here and multiply there.
Okay.
And then once you write that out, you'll have a like term here in the middle. Once you get those combined, then you bring this. What I would do, what this negative is going to do is change the signs of both of these terms. So that's going to be negative x squared. And then just subtract that away from it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. But just the main thing is here is just multiply those. And I'll give you an example up here. I'm just gonna give you an example. I just made this up. Times 3. All right. So what I'm gonna do here, if I multiply those two, x times 2x, it's 2x squared. All right, and then I'm gonna come here. X times 3 is 3x. All right. Now we're done here. We've got to come to our second term. Multiply here. 15 times 2 is. Okay, and then multiply here. 15 times 3 is 45. Now the only thing you have to do now is combine those two in the middle. So then if I was subtracting these, if I was subtracting these, I would subtract it, because those are like bases. I'll subtract those and subtract that. Those and then that answer. You got anything else, April?
I just have to do that. The IXLs and stuff.
Do
Yes, I have a factoring test and then the IXLs.
okay. Let's do
It's just
the.
factoring.
Let's do the. Do you know how to? Can you factor in at all? Or not really. Okay. Let us do this. Do this test here first, if you're ready for it, and then let me help you enough on the factor to take this test, and that's going to boost your grade the most. Okay.